It's time to
Good
stand up and
morning.
stretch. Let's take a break for 10 minutes.
My Google was talking, sorry.
Well, actually, I should have one of those too, because that's important. Stand up and take a stretch for 10 minutes. We forget.
Yeah.
We forget
Yeah,
to
and
do
after
that.
the scare last week that I had, it's a good reminder to get up and go around and move around and stretch and, drink water.
Yeah, because like say you had a scare that you might have blood clots, and that easily happens when you're sitting all day. So
Yeah,
we we need to stand up and stretch, but we don't remember to do it. So I'm glad
absolutely.
you
So
got
this is
that.
my reminder. It's 10
Uh,
o'clock. Please get up and move around, it tells me.
No, I like that idea. It's a great idea.
So I'm just going to go and share the feed to our group page to make sure that people see it. Um, and we have a great show today, my Lise. How are you?
I am good. I've had a busy weekend,
Yeah.
busy week coming up with all the debates coming up.
Oh my
It's a,
God.
it's a very busy and exciting time for the elections, and it's exciting to see what everybody has to say. So at the end of the
There
show,
is two
it,
things. Two things. Oh, go ahead.
no,
At the end
no,
of the
there's
show, what?
two things. Two things. What are the two
Yeah,
things?
there's two things I just want to remind people of is that so they can go on the seeker.ca. There's a special section for election coverage. So if they click on that banner, they will be taken to a spot where there's all the articles about what's going on. And I've posted one yesterday about all the debates that are happening this week and into the next, both federally and locally. There's a ton of stuff happening this week locally. So if you're interested in hearing what your candidates have to say, there's several opportunities to do it. So that's the one thing. I want to also mention that we're having some of the candidates on the show next week on the 14th at 10 a.m. So tune into that. You'll be able to ask your questions. But that's it.
Yeah, I actually went on the page. I'm just going to do a quick rundown before we get into the show. So this Thursday, April the 10th at 6, the Cornwall Area Chamber of Commerce and Your TV are doing a show in the studio. You can watch it live on Your TV or online on their YouTube. Sunday, April 13th from 2 to 3:30. The MP candidate debate is hosted by the Glengarry Times at the Glengarry Sports Palace in Alexandria. We want to go there, right? Monday, April 14th, like Julia said, is our chat with the candidates on our Monday morning motivation show. It's going to be a 2-hour show, so it's probably going to be a longer show. Tuesday, April 15th, 7:30. All the candidates meeting in North Stormont at the North Stormont Place in Avonmore. Then Wednesday, April 16th at 6 is the Cornwall and Area Labour Council debate at Cornwall Public Library. And that is what we know of so far. Others could be added, we don't know, but
Yeah.
so there's lots of chances
So
to go here.
updating I'll be updating that list throughout the
Perfect,
week. So if there's more
perfect.
opportunities and more things that happen, I'll be updating it periodically.
Awesome. Because that's I'm not big into politics, but I do love the candidates debates because it really
Yeah,
helps know who's all their views, right?
right. Okay, so without further ado,
We will bring on our guest who comes and joins us every Monday of the month to do appraisals. So good morning, John.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
So I'm just going to give a quick intro. So this is John Groh. John writes a column in the Seeker called For What It's Worth. And John is a partner in the appraisal firm Prestige Evaluation Inc. The firm specializes in antiques, watches, clocks, jewelry, fine art, and collectibles in general. Now, John does have some letters behind his name. It is ISA/AM. And I'm going to just ask you, John, what exactly does that mean?
Well, I do have uh, other letters associated, but I'm mostly referred to ISAAM. which is the International Society of Appraisers. It's an international society. It's one that is vetted. You have to be approved. You have to be pre-qualified with an educational background in various fields. You have to go through select courses. You have to have requalifications. Your appraisals are vetted by a board of trial. You have to have liability insurance, errors and emissions insurance, the same insurance that a lawyer would have. We don't do anything verbally as such. We only do verbal when it comes for general knowledge, information, entertainment purposes. But whatever is stated verbally is not to be used as a fact to be able to go to Walt Disney World on whatever you have. Saying that, the AM stands for accredited member. It's a status within the ISA where you have to maintain a minimum of 700 hours of appraisal practice that is documented. You have to have educational credits that are followed up. And you also have to write articles, speak publicly, and do a lot of other services to maintain that status. The higher status is the certified appraiser of personal property, or a CAP status. Right now, I haven't. I've been too busy that I haven't been, let's say, worried about achieving to the next level. I'll do that sometime in the future. But we are strictly controlled. We are only 50 in all of Canada. There's a lot of people who call themselves appraisers, but they're not appraisers. We handle course cases, high net worth individuals. We handle valuations in the millions of dollars, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars. We are sought after by financial, insurance, law, estates, high-end divorce cases, and a lot of foundations. I presently do a lot of pro bono work for Sick Kids in Toronto, and also the Shriners Hospital Networks in North America, which Montreal has the only Canadian hospital. With that, I'll pass it back to you.
All right.
Okay, well, thanks for the explanation.
So we'll start.
In other words, John really does know what he's talking about when it comes to
he
the
does. Okay,
perfect. Go for it.
We'll start with this.
Okay. This is in the category of a brown, the brown furniture style, made popular after World War I. Basically, after 1914, 1915 to about 1930, there were a lot of Canadian furniture manufacturers that came out with different styles and models. And when I saw this is definitely Canadian made. It's a piece that, you know, is about 100 years old, give or take a few years. It's in excellent condition. It would have to be cleaned with some special solution that you could buy on Amazon to bring out the richness of the wood. From the pictures, there are no hidden secret compartments. A lot of the older secretaries, especially from the 1800s, had secret compartments where you could store a gold coin or other gold coins in the cabinets. And a lot of people have sold their ancient cabinets in auction, but never had the piece inspected. And the purchaser of the cabinet finds a gold piece or two that was hidden in a secret compartment. Unfortunately, these pieces do not have secret compartments unless somebody tapes something underneath, which you never know today. Anybody could do that.
Wow.
It has a Bombay type glass in front. It's a curved glass. Those were very decorative for the time because this was a piece that would neither be in a kitchen, dining room, maybe even a living room, but mostly it was a living room piece to show off whatever they had, mostly cutlery and dishware. Um, the writing desk was basically for writing simple letters and taking care of the household. This was a piece at the time would have sold 100 years ago. It would have sold for about $8 to $9
Oh, wow.
Oh,
in
wow.
that money. Today, unfortunately, there's not much demand for brown furniture, but because of the condition, because of the glass display and the secretary, this is somewhat unique. And the top shelf that you see on top is intact. The
Oh,
fretting decoration of the what looks like a palm tree is intact. So a piece like this would fetch today anywhere from 350 to 450, depending on where you go. The market for this is not a condo. A condo buyer would not have something like this. This would basically go into a older home, an old farmhouse,
All
or
right.
a row house, or a step up brownstone building.
okay. Good to know. I didn't realize that shelf was part of it. I thought it was just a shelf above it, but it's part of it. Wow.
What, at the top?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Wow.
Okay, next item is this one. It's a gramophone from.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Do you see it?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Phonorollas, Canadian made after the patent of Edison. Edison was the first gentleman that invented the phonograph almost 140 years ago. They came out in about 18, 1815, 1860, and then they were very popular up until about 1920, 1925 to the mid 30s. A lot of these, yeah, as it shows, Kitchener, Berlin. Um, this was made after the name change of Kitchener. Previously, it was called Berlin. The war, the townspeople decided that Berlin was too German, and they didn't want to honor Germany, so they changed the name of the town to Kitchener. Uh, it's in very good condition. It is dirty. The wood would have to be cleaned with cleaning solution that is made for wood. You cannot use ordinary furniture polish on this. It would ruin the wood. It would do more damage over time. It should have a handle on the right-hand side to crank the gear spring, which rotates the disc on top. It has the needle arm, and the needle arm, if you're familiar with phonographs, the modern phonograph needle has two diamonds, one on each side for the left and right stereo. This only had one diamond needle point. And it was a mono sound. It wasn't stereo. And the records were fairly large and heavy. They were made from Bakelite. And these operated at a very fast speed, 78 revolutions per minute. So the speed was very fast. The record was very heavy. And what was great about this, it brought music into people's homes. And they were immensely popular. Now, these items were as expensive as $20 to $35, and you even had some that were like $49 at the time. So 120 years ago, you know, $50 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So this was used. You would find this in homes where the people had a little bit more money than the average common folk. And usually the people that had these phonographs would basically have parties where people would be coming over and bringing food 120 years ago just to listen to the music because it was, it was somewhat of a novelty. And the status that it brought to the owner of the home and the person who owned the photograph, he became basically the cool guy on the block.
Hmm.
Well,
So this actually this actually sits in that big cabinet then.
yeah, everything. The mechanism is on the bottom. The I have to note the tone arm or the pickup arm that is on top, that is situated on top. There's a lot of silver in there. There's about an ounce of silver.
Oh, and there?
Yeah, on the
Okay.
pickup.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then you also had accessories such as a speaker, which was a large horn. And this horn would be mounted into one of the tubes on top. And if you didn't have that, you had the sound coming from the bottom.
So
you
yeah, this
So you
particular
open the
tube, you
doors
have to
and you
open
had
the
the
doors.
sound coming from there. And on the bottom, the bottom cabinet, you had storage for the records. And the records at the time were about 25 cents to 50 cents, depending on the type of music. Some of the earliest jazz and blues recordings that were done, that were retrieved and saved, were done on 78. And some of those 78 albums are worth a lot of money. They were into the thousands of dollars. But the chances that you might have one in your record collection is very, very rare. Unfortunately, these were popular up until the mid 1930s. The market dropped off after the 1930s due to the Depression, the economic times. So a lot of people sold these off for pennies on the dollar. They were selling them for like $2, $5 at the worst case. But you didn't have people that had the money to even afford $2 during the Depression. So a lot of these were basically bought, stored in a barn or some other place, transported over multiple moves, and the items were destroyed or lost. So you see a lot of them, but they're somewhat. I'm not going to use the term rare, but they are. They're not as common as you would think that they would be. A working unit in this condition should fetch around $200. If we go back 25, 30, 35 years ago, working condition units like this in pristine condition were going for thousands of dollars. But that was then. The market has changed. The young people will look at this and say, well, it's only going to sit in the corner. It has no use. It doesn't fit into a condo or, let's say, a modern apartment. So this is something that would go into a parlor of a home. Where in the parlor you have love seats along the walls where people sat and listened to the music. Today with our phones, we're everywhere. So we don't have to be in the parlor. We don't have to be under the watchful eyes of other people.
It'll be funny to see 50 years from now how a iPhone 7 is selling for.
Yeah.
We're gonna we're all gonna have brain implants by Elon Musk.
Okay, next item.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
This is a German beer stein with a pewter top. You have the standard wolf and forest pattern on the stein. The stein is part enameled with basically engravings. This is not a custom made item. This is a manufactured item. It could be anywhere from 60, 75 years old. Popularity, from 1900 to, present day. They're very common. There are people who collect them, but finding one that you would have that would be, let's say, a collectible item, it's more of a decorative piece. It's more of a conversation piece. You have two of them, and you're going to enjoy your brew with a buddy, hopefully.
Yeah.
And these go anywhere for about $45, $60, depending on the condition. If there's no scratches, there's no paint removal, no enamel removal, the inside is fairly clean. So $45 to $60 is what these usually sell for. But they're very common.
Okay.
Okay.
Next, we have chalet glass.
Okay. I blew up the pictures of the glass, and the glass has UV damage. UV breaks down the pigmentation eventually, and these were, you could see it here. There's some discoloration due to UV damage. This is a decorative item made by glass artisans. A lot of these pieces came from Italy, where they have an enormous glass blowing and artisanal industry, the largest in the world. The Italians do the specialized glass for the spacecraft. A lot of people don't know that, but the glass comes from Italy, and the process is enormous. I saw a video once. They're workers of art. Murano glass, the decorative glass they do is unbelievable. Here in Canada, we have a few glass blowers, artisanal glass blowers, and their works are going for thousands of dollars. In Italy, this is a very common product. It's a decorative piece. If this was to sell at a garage sale, it would be maybe $20, $25. But really not more. Somebody who wants to buy something like this is going to look to make sure there's no discoloration or no UV damage. They want clarity of the colors. They want the richness, the brightness.
Okay.
I feel like I see those in thrift stores a lot.
Yeah.
I actually have one. Mine's not got the chalet glass on the bottom, but I have something similar to that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to know about the UV damage. I would never even known that there was such a thing.
It happens.
Wow.
Okay, this piece is very interesting. Now, the disclaimer is that all my evaluations and comments are mostly for entertainment purposes. This piece, when I first saw it, it has some aspects of William and Mary style, which would put it at the 16th century, but this is not a 16th century piece. This piece, it's very nice. It was very hard for me to come up with an age, but the age that I estimate due to the woodworking, due to the construction, the type of screws that I see, the chain, the velvet. This is anywhere from 1860 to 1910.
Wow.
There's a question that the chains might have been replaced, but the screws that I did see look as if they're 130, 140 years old. They're the slot screws. The construction dates back to that period. The velvet might have been changed, or the velour matting might have been changed. The legwork, but this is a reproduction from earlier pieces, even though it might be 140 years old.
So yeah, so it's an 1800s replica of a 1600 thing. Is what you're saying?
That was very, very common.
Wow.
The piece would have to be cleaned up with special wood cleaner. That would bring out the richness of it. I would not recommend doing anything to modify this piece at all, because it is in very good condition, and it's also a useful piece. From the photos, it doesn't look like it has any secret compartments, but it's always a good idea to take the drawers out and look underneath the drawers. This is a piece that was mass produced. In other words, even 140, 150 years ago, you had people that were doing multiple pieces of this, because it was a common design, common style. People wanted desks. They wanted something that looked good, because they were not living in 3,500 square foot homes. They were living, they were living in much smaller homes, so space was a requirement. So they didn't want a very large desk. They wanted something that was manageable. These are very popular, of many different variations. The symbolism, this might have been in a church. This could have been done for a church or a religious order. Hard to say depending on where the person got the piece. But a piece like this, due to the market, which has collapsed greatly, this would have sold for a few $1,000s 25, 35 years ago. Now it might be anywhere from $400 to $600.
Okay. Next.
Okay. Cutlery. Everybody has them. Could you go to the next picture, please?
So I hope that the pictures are in order. Is that the correct one there?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay. The first thing I look for cutlery is it sterling silver? That's number one. Number two, if it's gold colored, is it gold plated? If it's gold plated, is it 9K, 10K, 14 karat K? I want to know what the quality of gold is. But when it comes to cutlery, the majority of the cutlery you will see, especially from Rogers, large company, American company, but it's not sterling silver. It's silver colored, and there's a mark that says IS. You would see marks that say IS or NS. IS is iron silver. NS would be nickel,
Okay.
silver. Then you have CPS, which is copper plated silver. So this has some silver component, but not something that is measurable. Not something that you could really extract. They're decorative
Okay.
spoons. They don't tarnish as fast as a real silver spoon, which is good because you don't have to clean them all the time. But they have no monetary value except being cutlery.
Okay.
And they're sold as such. Somebody who wants something different than, let's say, an IKEA cutlery set that they pick up for $25 would like something like this. If they have a dining room, they should have nice cutlery like this. But these pieces, when you bought them originally, they sold for a lot of money. But unfortunately, right now, anywhere from 125 to 300, 350, depending on the make, the serving setting, and the quantity. So this piece over here looks like a 5-piece setting. No,
This one.
Yes, this one here. So we have
Wait, isn't that the one that we just did?
Yeah.
No, I think that the other one was a daffodil. What is this one? I don't think this is
this one is not the one we just did.
Yeah,
that's daffodil.
Yeah, we just did this
that
one.
Okay.
This is an 8-piece setting, so it's good for 8 people.
This is the one we did, and the other one is a 12-piece.
Yes, this is an 8-piece setting, so
Go to the
it's
other
good for
one.
up to 8 people.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're going to bring.
But the other one,
yeah,
we want to put the other one back on. We've already done this
yeah,
one.
we did this
Wait.
one.
Go to the next one.
There was no value.
Yeah, you have the.
Oh, we did one last month or what?
No, we just did this one. You said the value was between 1 and 300 on any cutlery, depending on what it
okay.
was.
Sorry. So
Go to the next.
Okay.
That's. Oh no, I thought we had. So we didn't do the one before that.
I just post. Hold on. Was it this one?
This one.
This one.
This
one is the one we just did.
Yeah.
With this. Okay.
Right.
So now,
Daffodil.
this one, is that the same? No, that's a new one.
That's a new one.
So where is the?
No, that is the same one. That is the same one. That is the daffodil.
I don't know. That don't look like
Nope,
that
keep
to
going.
me. That doesn't look like that to me.
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
How about this one?
We'll just do this one.
Let's do this one.
Okay. This is gold colored. It's not gold plated. Well, they use some gold. It's liquid gold that they plate, but the plating is so fine that there's no retrievable gold. But the manufacturers have made it such that you would have to have everyday use to really wear it down. This is a decorative piece. It's for 12 places, 12 people. And the thing I look for is to see if there's any marking such as 9 carat, 10 carat. There is no marking of 9 carat or 10 carat or 14 carat that indicates that there's a quantity of gold. These are decorative pieces. Pieces like this would have sold, for $800, $900, $1,000 very easily when they were brand new. People like them because they do not tarnish. They hold the gold coloration fairly well, and it's different. People like them because it's totally different. You walk into somebody's homes and they have this on the table with nice dishes. it looks nice. It's impressive.
Okay.
So this is something that people should keep because it really sets them apart when they're entertaining.
Okay.
And this is the last one, I think.
Okay. This one here, when I first saw this, I said, oh, it looks like it might have some silver. And the reason I look at the silver content is that if anybody is going to buy this, it's going to be for the silver content, not because it's a nice set. There are people out there who just go to garage sales, estate sales, and they're just looking for anything that has silver or any type of gold plating of a quantity because they're looking basically to refine the silver and make money off the silver. Looking at the labeling, it has no sterling mark. The sterling mark you will see very easily from the 1800s to present. It is a lawful indication that the item is pure silver when you see sterling. It is very rare to see cutlery with sterling because silver is malleable. You could bend it very easily. So they always used another alloy. But because the set is very nice, it's very decorative. It's not something that you're going to see every day. You'll have to clean it with some silver solution because there is some silver plating as such, which is unknown. But this is a nice 12 piece. It's 12, eh? Yeah, 12. It's a nice 12 serving piece collection. And partnering any 12 piece set, you're looking at about $300 to $400 easy. Now, of course, it all depends on the manufacturer. If we're talking about early cutlery pieces, let's say from 100, 150 years ago, there might be more value in the piece than something that came out, let's say, 70 years ago. Because 70 years ago, they were going after a mass consumer marketplace. People just came out of the war. They're looking to get their lives back on track. They wanted to spend the money that they earned during the war years and start living the life. And this is where you had companies that were geared towards this marketplace. So you're going to see a lot of these sets.
But what you're looking for is actual sterling silver. Those are the ones that are worth something.
Those are the ones that are going to have more value than just the value of the cutlery.
Okay.
That is very, very important for a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
100 years ago in Victoria, England, one way of showing off your wealth was to have the silverware that was marked with the hallmarks that the people could see, oh my God, this is real silver. They're really bringing home the bacon.
Okay.
Kind of like China too, right? Like if you had a good there
are collectible china. Royal Albert has one of the longest histories of making place settings, and some pieces are very valuable. But today, nobody wants something that you cannot put in a dishwasher, you cannot put in a microwave. It has to be washed by hand. A lot of these dishes have gold inlaid. The paint used on the dishes while the dishes were cured in a kiln to heat them up might be toxic. There's a lot of factors.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to have this gorgeous set, and I have a million kids, so they did end up getting in the dishwasher and everything, and it's all faded now. Like It's too bad because it was a beautiful, beautiful set. It had a ton of missing pieces, but still.
Oh,
All right.
It was enjoyed.
Yep. Okay, so the next item and the last one, I believe, is this lamp.
oh,
Okay.
nice.
Because it is a electrified lamp, this is definitely 1920s and current. These lamps, Germany was manufacturing these like there was no tomorrow. There was a market, especially pre-war, 1930s to 1940s, and after the war, there were large industries, and they were selling this to an export market. Dresden. Okay, the year of 1817 is the year that the company was established. It's not the year that this was made in,
Okay.
unfortunately. They didn't have electricity in 1817, but I'm sure some conspiracy theorists will come up with a theory.
Mm.
So this relates to the company.
Look how beautiful it is.
Oh,
It
my
is.
goodness. It's beautiful.
It's a decorative piece. It is nothing more than that. It's something that is very fragile. If any of the arms are broken, it has no value.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a gorgeous
definitely
piece, though.
conversation piece.
Yeah.
For sure.
Somebody,
Hmm.
these are pieces that they flooded the export marketplace. The Hudson's Bay Company, Simpsons, Eaton's, the Bay, they were selling these in after the war, 50s, 60s. People bought it because it looked rich. It looked
Yeah.
different. It looked stylish. This was something that was, this is going to look really nice in my home. It's so beautiful.
Mhm.
And people bought it for that. But does it have value? You put this at a yard sale, and if you put $50 to $75, you might get it. But there's a greater chance that you might be taking it back inside and it won't sell. Again, condition is everything. If any limb, any rose petal, anything is broken and re-glued, the value becomes almost almost nothing, because people want a perfect piece.
For
Yeah.
sure. So, John, let me ask you this. So if people have timeless pieces that they are holding on to and that they're looking at as an investment more than anything else, we've talked about some of the pieces that were here today, like the gramophone and the other hutch and the desk. You were saying they could have sold 25 years ago for $2,000, $3,000, but today the market is different, so those pieces will go for a lot less. So when do you know when it's time to sell your piece?
I think that in our economy now is that if you have something that is not making you money and just sitting in a corner and not bringing anything to you, it's time to sell.
Okay.
Okay.
Like, we are never going back to the time where general antiques are going to increase in value. There are museum pieces. There are pieces that are fetching enormous valuations in auctions around the world. But these are pieces that are very unique. They're 15th century cupboards that are immaculate. We're talking about armchairs from Louis the 14th that
Hmm.
came from his palace that sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's items like that. I, those antiques will always have value, extreme great value. But most of the antiques that people have um, are fairly common and not as valuable. There is an exception: lower and upper Canadian furniture. Um, Lower Canadian furniture is fairly rare because during the 1900s and the depressions, a lot of the French Canadians were burning the older furniture for firewood, for heat. A lot of Upper Canada furniture exists in the STG area, but a lot of it has been stored in barns and deteriorated with moisture, humidity, mold, uh, and general deterioration, which is too bad. Those two examples of furnitures will always have a higher value than, let's say, the common furniture that we just saw here.
Mhm.
But it's identifying the pieces. It's taking the time to say, hey, this is from the 17th century. This was from 1640 to 1670. Um, they take examination. Examination takes time. A lot of people, they're using older furniture as a workbench. They're spray painting car parts on it or cleaning car parts on it because
Mhm.
they don't know. It was passed down by, let's say, grandparents, and they got it from their grandparents or that. And the furniture, because it wasn't identified as something valuable, they're using it for something else.
Yeah, I think there's a misconception that, when you've seen something and you've grown up with it, like it's just okay, it's part of your environment and it's an old thing. It's that old thing in the corner, right? You just don't.
Right. Like one example, I went to Morrisburg to a farm, and they had this Upper Canadian armoire that was done by a documented craftsman from Upper Canada who has done a lot of Upper Canadian furniture from, let's say, 1670 to 1750. And they were using it basically as a modified chicken coop.
Oh
Mm.
my goodness.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness.
Had they not used it as a chicken coop and took care of it, the piece
Who
could
knows?
have potentially been worth $50,000, $60,000.
Oh
Wow.
my goodness. I'm sure they were not
Wow.
happy. They were
Well,
not happy to hear that.
they, no, they didn't know. They didn't know about it, and I did not mention anything.
Okay. That's just wow.
I was not there to look at that piece.
Yeah. Yeah. So, John,
But
if anybody wants to have an idea of what their things are worth, how they can you do estates? Do you do personal appraisals? If somebody calls you, will you go and appraise their stuff?
Okay, first of all, I do a lot of estate work. People that have a lot of stuff. There's a legal requirement that they have to have the estate probated and they have to have their assets on the personal property and movable property. Because I only do personal property, there are other appraisers who just do the real estate, which is fine. So there's a lot of that type of work, but mostly it's Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Morrisburg, Brockville, Kingston. Then there's the people who unfortunately are getting the divorce and they do have assets and they do have a lot of personal property. They have collections. They could be wine, cars, watches, haute couture, clothes. But somebody who's going to call and say, I have a Beanie Baby collection, um, Beanie Babies, some of them are worth a lot of money. But a lot of people do not have an inventory of what they have. They have nothing written down. They just have the stuff. And the stuff could be in cabinets or selected. It takes time to go through all those items and then to do the research, to do a written report. So that's something that takes time, and time is money, which is why people have to have something of value for me to really get involved. It's very nice. Somebody says, "Oh, I have a dining room set." They could send pictures, and it's something that they're going to be better off to try to sell in Facebook Marketplace. If they
Mhm.
have something from the 17th century, 18th century, then it's another story. Then they want to know, okay, is this something that is real value that would be excessive in the thousands of dollars? Then it would be beneficial for them. I don't want to do appraisals for the sake of appraisals uh,
Mhm.
and have people spend money when there's no return to them. I cannot buy and sell. I do not engage in any financial relationship with anything. There are people who call themselves appraisers and they buy and sell, and they'll offer, under the guise of an appraisal, an offer for whatever you have, but they're going to be making money on it. I do not make any money. I do not engage in any transaction on any personal property. That's very, very important, mostly because of the legal cases that I work on, or the high net worth individuals that have estates or divorcing, or when lotteries or notaries contact me.
Mhm.
Okay.
So there's a caveat of what's going on in terms of what a person might have. Um, there were one case where their grandfather collected coins, and the granddaughters were in their uh, late 80s. So the coin collection started like 150 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
uh, I went through all the coin collection. I explained the process to them. And to date, they have over $632,000 US worth of collectible coins in there.
Wow.
There were also gold coins, and it was a steamer trunk. You know, one of the large trunks that you see in a
Wow.
movie. Well, it was filled up in a basement that basically was not a finished basement. It was a rock foundation basement
Wow.
with a dirt floor, and this case was in there. And apparently, the grandfather was just tossing coins in there from 150 years ago. So he had coins that were probably well, he did have coins that were like 200 years old that he collected, because coins at that time, people didn't transact. They had savings of that, and that was his saving hoard. Then he
Wow.
died. Then his son never bothered with the coins. Maybe he was scared of going down in the unfinished basement. I don't know. But the granddaughters, who are in their 80 years old, gives me a call, and had they called a coin collector, you know, he could. I have seen cases where somebody would offer, let's say, $50,000. That sounds like a lot of money.
Yeah,
Wow, fifty
but
thousand
when it's
dollars,
worth 630,
600 US.
yeah.
Wow.
I have to go through mine. My dad left me a case with a whole bunch of coins too when he passed away, and I know you talked about in one of your columns this app that you can run your coins through and see if they have any value. So,
It's good for approximation. You don't take it to the bank. It gives
mhm.
you an idea. I tell people where to get the information, how to do it, because um, it's time to go through um, it was about 12,036 coins.
Wow.
To go through that, it took 3 months. Well, no, it was
Oh
closer to
my
4
goodness.
months.
I guess. Wow.
Wow.
But my fees were completely justified by the return that they got.
Oh, of
Yeah.
course.
So,
Wow.
so this is where it's all a question of time.
Yeah.
Which is why when I get involved with the sick kids in Toronto, people are giving $100,000 jewelry collection to the hospital, or classic cars worth $300,000, or art, almost $500,000. I don't. I go to the hospital or to the sick kids in Toronto, and I do my evaluations there, or the Shriners Network. It's the same thing. I do not take anything, home with me at all. I do everything on site.
Hmm.
I had people, say, "Well, here, take my watch collection and get back to me." No way,
No.
you know.
Oh boy.
So basically,
Okay.
John, if anybody has anything that they want to get appraised, send your pictures into appraisals@thesika.ca during the month, and John will be back with us the first Monday of, I can't believe it's already May.
May. Is it May
John will
already?
be,
Oh my God. That's
no, it's April.
May.
It's April. It's April. You'll be
It-
back the first week. The first Monday of May is your next time you'll be back. So during the month,
This
send
year
you.
scared me, because when you said May, May, that's, my God.
Where did April go? No,
it's insane. Time's going back so fast.
it is. So you got everybody, you have a whole month to get your items in to appraisals@thesika.ca, and then we will see John back and he will look at everything. No, the time is flying though, but
It is.
we're really happy to have you come on once a month. I do like the fact of what you said though. If it doesn't, it's time to get rid of stuff if it doesn't have use anymore, or it doesn't please you or something. Because again, I have stuff sitting around that needs to go.
Yeah.
I have to get
All
into
right.
that.
Well, thank you for being with us, John. We'll see you next month.
Okay, very good. Thank you very
Have
much.
have a great day.
Wonderful.
Thank
Bye.
you. Okay,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
John. Yeah, yeah, May will be here before we know it. So yes, start sending those pieces in, please, so that John can have a bit of time to look at them and appraise them. I love the show. It's very interesting because he gives so
It
much
is.
information.
Details and information. Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Like even when he says that after the World War, like people were buying all these things because they were starting their homes and everything again that got ruined and lost,
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
for sure. So, do you have any final words? It is 10:59.
Well, my final words were about the debate. I'm excited to go listen to what all the candidates have to say. I
Yes.
enjoy the debates, I really do. So there's there's a few in person, but like Julia said, we've got it all on our website under the candidates banner. If you go in there, you can check out different information about the candidates and then where all the debates are going to be taking place. Julia is going to be updating as things
Yes.
come
And
up.
I want to also mention that on the SDG&A Cornwall Seeker local events and community happenings group on Facebook, there is a poll going on right now. So we are asking what the voting intentions are. It's totally anonymous. You can go and vote and place your little check mark next to who you think you're going to be voting for. It's just fun to check it out before the actual voting day to see where people
Yeah.
are leaning. And right now, Eric Duncan is in the lead, and there's no surprise there. It's a heavily conservative area here. So, okay.
Yeah. But again, please go and vote on the 28th. Your vote counts. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll see you next week, guys. Have a great day.
Have a super duper week. Bye for
Bye
now.
for now.